so much for joining us here on the Monsters in the Morning. Dan Jiggetts alongside my partner Mike North, publisher of Bear Report magazine. John Crist is back for his weekly visit. And John, I suppose you look at yesterday, and we were just talking during the timeout about the disparity in talent between the Vikings and the Bears, and that's been something that's been building over years. Do you see complete house cleaning coming?
I don't see if there's any other way. I really don't, because if you just look at this game yesterday, I know the Bears hung with them for about a quarter or so, but just look at the free agent acquisitions the Vikings have made over the years. Look at some of the draft picks they've made over the years. Those are the guys who were killing the Bears yesterday, whether it's Sidney Rice, a first-round pick, or it's Percy Harvin, a first-round pick, or Jared Allen, who's a key free agent acquisition. These are the guys who are murdering the Bears, and they just don't have anybody to compensate for that. It takes a couple of years for it to really happen, but yesterday was really the crescendo, if you ask me, because since the Super Bowl run in 2006, there's just not enough groceries in the pantry, and they simply do not have the talent to hang with it.
So who's in charge of buying those groceries, acquiring those groceries?
That would be Mr. Angelo.
Because I keep hearing about Lovie Smith, and I think Lovie Smith can coach. I think if you get Lovie Smith has proven he can coach. Now, the one thing that's distressing is when they have players and then they move them. Like Dan was saying earlier, Mike Brown was Defensive Player of the Week last week for the Kansas City Chiefs, which is an embarrassment. It's an embarrassment to this organization.
How many times do you think Adrian Peterson fumbles yesterday if you still had Chris Harris?
Right. And the bottom line is that we've gotten rid of a lot of players, but there's no draft picks. And Troy Aikman announced that to everybody that Jerry Angelo has mortgaged the future for a quarterback.
Yeah, and you look at, you've gotten rid of, a player or two because you drafted a player like at the safety position. To me, from what I've seen out of Craig Steltz, he's not good enough to get on the field right now.
That's inactive yesterday.
Yeah, so.
But is that a badge of honor that you're not good enough to get on the field with this staff?
But look back, and you say, well, why is he here?
He
because he was
drafted
to replace somebody else who's still starting in the NFL.
Yeah.
So you start, that's when you start backing all the stuff up, and you look at the decisions. And you say, wait a minute, that really was a very bad decision. You thought it was a bad one at the time. Now you see exactly what the end result of it is.
Not only is he in town to cover up, Mike Brown getting hurt all the time, not being here anymore, but you also had another free agent disaster. He's there because Adam Archuleta was such a bum. I mean, it just goes on and on and on. The domino effect has been absolutely crippling. I know that everyone wants to throw this at the feet of Jay Cutler, and yes, he has been bad this year. Make no mistake about it. But at one point in this game, he was 11 of 12 with a touchdown pass. But then the defense started to break down.
John.
I agree.
Kyle Orton
You're right.
Which means they gave up yesterday. This was a bad move. Lovie needs an offense that works it down the field, gives his guys some rest, an opportunity to come in and get turnovers.
I mean, you can look offensively and defensively. Right. I don't think they have the skill. I don't think they have the personnel. Nope. I don't think they have anything to run the schemes they're trying to run, because you got Jay Cutler, who's a strong-arm quarterback known for accuracy down the field. He's on 3- and 5-step drops and dumping the ball all over the place because you can't protect him. And then on defense, you got this cover 2 scheme where you need pressure from the front four. You can't get it. You need a middle linebacker. Urlacher's not there. You need safeties, and nobody can cover.
But let me ask you about this play here. That ball should have never been thrown. That ball, if it's going to be thrown, hold far.
Put it in the corner. No. Drop it in the corner.
If you throw it to the back left corner, it's a good. Now, come on, Cedric Griffin made a hell of a play. You give him a tip of the cap.
John.
If you throw it to the back left corner where the receiver gets it, or nobody, you can make that throw. If he throws it 2 feet farther, it might get a touchdown.
If he threw the same kind of pass that he threw to him on the opposite side, it's a touchdown again.
That decision was no different than the touchdown to Johnny Knox. He was covered just as closely, but that was a perfect throw.
He's pretty well covered, though. He's got to throw it in the right spot.
Look at the difference.
Boy, look at the separation.
And
he is ahead of him.
Oh, yeah.
It's exactly the same as the fade route for the first touchdown.
It's a 3-step drop.
It's a 3-step drop and a fade route. I mean, and those are the routes that are being run. Those are the throws being made because you can't protect the guy. The offensive line is a joke right now.
Wait a minute.
Slow your roll, though, for a second here, my friend. I looked at yesterday. Brett Favre was getting pressure on him. He was getting hit.
Can I tell you guys something?
They ran a graphic. He got hit 10 times.
Cutler's been sacked 24 times, Favre 22. You make the call.
So what's up with that?
Sacks an overrated number.
Oh, really?
Yes,
no. But it's the net effect. We're talking about pressure on quarterbacks and whether or not they have enough.
He's only been sacked 2 less times in the.
Brett may take a few more deep drops, than Jay Cutler, but still, it all evens out.
Well, Cutler's been forced to compensate for a bad offensive line, and that has led to some of the bad decisions, some of the interceptions. Would you rather have 22 sacks and 20 interceptions, or 24 sacks and 20 interceptions?
But we heard, in fact, I heard right here that this offensive line, I remember this conversation, would be better than last year.
Yeah, it was supposed to be. I said it. That's right.
Based on what?
That's right. I said it.
You can't bring in these guys. Orlando Pace is a Hall of Famer. But he's not a Hall of Famer now.
No.
I mean, that's just the way it is. And I thought John Tate, that retirement caught the Bears by surprise.
I had no idea that Orlando Pace was that stiff.
No,
well, I don't think
no, it's bad.
You don't want to give up a guy like that unless he's done.
I don't think anybody knew it was going to be this bad, because after the Bears got Orlando Pace, I talked with Howard Balzer, who's been covering the St. Louis Rams for years down there, and he thought that he played fairly well last year on a bad team. You maybe squeeze a year or two out of that guy. You draft Chris Williams in the first round, you move him to the right side. You think he's at least going to show some of his first-round talent. Franco Mayel's a guy that maybe you can move him inside because tackle to guard is...
Who brings all these guys in? Who brings all these guys in?
It's Bobby DePaul.
And who's in charge?
And Jerry Angelo. These are the decision makers, of course.
Boy, he can't... I looked for Jerry Angelo in the paper today. I could hardly find him.
Who is the architect now of the Minnesota Vikings? Who's putting that...
Rick Spielman.
The same guy that used to be there, right?
Yeah.
He was with Wani, though, right?
He did a pretty good job. He did actually down in Miami, too, didn't he?
He's got a pretty good NFL resume, but like I said, the culmination yesterday was it's very difficult to have a quick fix in this league. You need a couple of years to stockpile that talent, draft picks, free agents, and Spielman's been able to do that.
Let me ask you
Angelo
this,
has not recently.
Looking at the Bears situation, what do they do? Because that's what everybody wants to know now. It's obvious that they're not going to the playoffs this year, and it's obvious that they have a deficit of talent.
And they have no draft picks. No. We gave them all up for the great Jay Cutler.
I know you bring me on this show to have the answers, but that is not an answer that anybody can produce.
Well,
right now.
let's look at it this way.
It's not possible.
If you look at, what's going to happen now if this is an uncapped year, what kind of opportunity does that provide for the Jerry Angelos of the world?
Well, one opportunity is that some of your restricted free agents, some of you guys who might be unrestricted free agents, you get a chance to hold on to them because they'll be restricted free agents. But are these guys you really want to hold on to? We're talking about Mark Anderson. We're talking about Daniel Manning. We're talking about Jamar Williams.
He makes a play all the time,
like
97, Mark Anderson.
He's the guy. He's the guy. When he makes his one play every other week, yes,
play,
that's
somebody runs by his lane for 35 yards.
See, the other thing is what happens to other teams, though. And the possibilities that some of them will unload some talent.
There's a possibility that lots of talent could be left out there, and there is money to be spent by the Bears, and it's going to be a little bit of a fluid situation for the salary cap because it's not going to be the wild, wild west. It's not where Dan Snyder can just sign every single player he wants because he has the money. There's going to be restrictions based on if you made the playoffs or not. There's going to be more franchise tags. There's going to be more transition tags. It's going to be a little bit screwy. We have to see exactly how it's going to shake out.
And everybody here picked them for the playoffs.
Because Peter King goes to training camp one day a year, and he sees Jay Cutler sling the ball all over the place.
Maybe all the writers and guys like you should stay away from training camp because apparently the PR stuff is so good down there. Scott Hagel, he got everybody. They got everybody hoodwinked.
He looked good in training camp, didn't he?
Yeah, he did.
Oh, yeah,
he did.
All right, time for a break here on the Monsters in the Morning. Jen will get us caught up with a weather and traffic update, and then, of course, it's more with John and Crist of the Bear Report next here on Comcast SportsNet.
There's a place I